This is an update on my UIs. So let's see here. Thought I'd just give a little bit of an update of what I've been doing and how it's been going. So this is my latest UI, and I have to say, this one I am so happy with. It really turned out better than I was expecting, especially because I didn't really have, going into this one, I didn't really have a plan. I mean, I know it's kind of weird, but I just kind of started throwing some stuff together and saying, well, how will this work, how this works. So I just thought I'd go through the process on this one. The first thing I started out with was actually the center part. So I started with this, and actually when I started with it, it wasn't a center part. It was off here to the left, and it was just for the player. So originally when I did this, I have my two frames here, and I had this piece right here. There was a player one and there was a target one. They both looked the same. Actually, they look they look exactly the way they do right now, but one was for player, one was for target. I put that together. I put that center piece together first, and then I created this player bar. Now this player bar was really, well, I really like it. Like, I really like it. I don't know if the video capture on this is, clear enough. The detail on this one, especially on my screen, really, it's really fantastic. I can't express to you how good it looks. But it was a pain. It was. So I'm actually trying to consider how I would put this down, how I put this together if I ever wanted to really share it, because it's not great to share right now. And I'll kind of show you why. So if we go into WeChorus, let's see here. So I called this. So I had no idea. Like, I kind of run out of the names of what I want to call things. So originally, based on the circle, I called it futuristic. It's not futuristic. I don't know. It was like, oh, let's call it futuristic because it's got things moving around it. But anyway, so let's look at the player frame itself specifically. So the player frame, if you look at it, so there's a lot of kind of normal things. This whole bit right here, this is just all the different pieces to the circle part. Here's where the kind of the heart of this thing comes. I don't want to call it heart, but this is where really the most work came in. So, and it's this whole bit right here. So if you see all this, so this right here, let me highlight it. I think we should be able to. So this right here, as you can kind of see, this is just the background, just these. And when if you notice what I had to do, and I had to do this for the background, along with what I had to do with the foreground here. So there. Oops, what did I do? I hit cap lock instead of shift. So there's the foreground, right? So you got that, and then you got the background behind it, which again, I think looks really good. But what I had to do in order to do this, and this is one of those things where there's a programming solution, and it would have been really easy, but my programming skills have gotten so bad that they're almost non-existent at this point. But anyway, so here's what I had to do. So here's the first bar. So I just create this really thin bar, right? So it's got a height of 1, and it's got a specific width. And then what I did is, in order to create that slant, right, that parallelogram, I just offset each one by half a pixel and moved it down one. So this one's at 206, -28. Then this one's at 206.5, -27, and I just kept on doing that. So 207, -26, and I just did this a bunch of times until I got, my desired thickness, until, basically I got the thing I wanted. And it was interesting because usually what I would have done was I would have put in a custom texture, right? I would have just gone to my iPad and I would have drawn a custom texture, and that's what I would have gotten. And I would have made it that way. But I was just, in this case, like I said, it was more of like, as I was putting this together, I was just like, well, what would this look like, right? What would this look like if I put this together? And so I put the player health bar, the blue part, I put that together first. And I was like, I like that, especially once I chose my texture design. I was like, I really like that. And I didn't know how to, I wouldn't even know how to create that on my iPad. So I'm like, okay, I like it. Yeah, it's a mess, and it really is. I mean, it is. I can't explain how much of a mess it is, in that Currently, if I want to make changes to it, it's not really great. So what I mean by that is I probably should break this thing right here into two parts. I should separate the here, let me go back to here. I should separate this part right here, this circle part where it shows the portraits and stuff, from this. And the reason being is, currently, if I want to move this player bar, right, I have to take each of those individual bars, right? So each of these things right here, and I have to move them specifically. And I can't do that whole thing where you just kind of select them all, right, and go, and move them whatever you want to, because obviously that just causes all sorts of problems. So I have to go through and I have to move each one individually. Like I said, there may even be in WeakOrs, there may even be an easier way of doing that. Of course, I don't know it, which is great. Um, that's the limitations. You're working with what you got. So in this case, like I said, if I want to take this, so originally when I did this, I put this together and I put the bar over the bar. This bar right here was like moved over like maybe 30 pixels. So it kind of started here and went this direction. And I thought it was too wide. So I had to take it all and I had to move it. And then I had to take it and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd like it to go a little more down. So I moved it, and I had to take each one, I had to move it down. And then when I go to the target, right, when I created the target, so here's my target, the pixel, I couldn't just copy this and go for it. I had to take all the, I couldn't, there wasn't a good way to rotate this thing. So usually with textures, right, if this whole thing was a texture, I could just say, hey, take this texture and rotate it. But in this case, I couldn't take the grouping and rotate it. And maybe there is a way, like, it's one of those things, again, where I didn't see the option to rotate the group, but maybe there was, and I kind of feel like there is an ability you can do that. I feel like you can take a group and rotate it. So maybe I should have looked at that a little bit harder, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't see it, and so I just went for what I had. So anyway, again, but in this case, notice, because I basically had to take each of these and line them up the way I want to, just like I had to do this one. So each of these were placed, pixel by pixel, which was, it was really long. Like it was a really long process. But like I said, I think when I was finished, I'm pretty happy. Like, I'm really happy with this result. Now, I will say, I have not rated with this. So, a lot of times it's like, oh, I really like it, and then you take it out and you rate it, and you're like, yikes, right? And that may be the situation. It may be like, oh, this just doesn't work. But I think it's going to work pretty well. I would say probably my main concern, and actually let me go and let me fight with this. Let me go into combat. Where can I go into combat? Let's go to the current expansion for the content. So now you might well, actually, I was going to mention this cast bar, but I won't right now. Let's go to the current content. Okay. So let's see here. Like I said, so there's a lot of things I really like. I really like the look of this. And so if you go to the bars, I should really put myself into combat, but I will. It'd be nice to actually sit there in combat, but I can do it this way. Actually, let me do one thing though. Let me change my skills because I don't want one thing showing currently. So I'm going to change my talents. I'll put myself in Guardian. That will not cause problems for now. There's just certain things I haven't taken care of yet. So, okay. So I put this thing together, right? I put this part and I was really happy. But the thing that I was unhappy with was my skill cooldowns. So originally, and I don't, let's see if I can show my skill cooldowns. Let's see if I can show you what I was originally using. I don't know if I can because I don't remember exactly what it is called. Let's see. Is it called this? Yeah, here it is. So it's this. Not that. And it was this. Nope, not that. What is it called? That. Oh, yeah. It was this. I can't see the whole thing, so it wasn't this. Man. I'm trying to find it. I probably am not going to find it. I may have. Yeah. Here it is. So this is the original. I know you can't. I know you can't really see it great. It's not, obviously it's not put together perfectly, and there's a couple things obviously that are in the way. So this is, if you can kind of get a general picture, right? So this is kind of what I had for my original cooldown tracker, right? So this was mana. This yeah. So this whole bar right here was mana. This right here is my skills. How was I tracking effervescence? Oh, right, you can't see it. There is an effervescence bar embedded in here, so there's a you can't see it. Like I said, I don't want to enable this right now, but there is an effervescence bar map in this, and it was fine. Like, usability wise, it worked great, but I didn't like the look of it, and the reason being is this thing right here. So if you go to my these things right here, they're pretty simple. They're very, I just think they're kind of elegant. And it was like, that was just so overwhelming. So anyway, I know I'm going a little long here. So let's look what I did now. I like this. This is how I like the way this is put together. So what I did, let's go into combat. So there I am in combat. So notice what I did, which I like, is I have these trackers right here. They're coming out from the sides. And I kind of like that, especially I put these little things right here. They weren't. I know. I'm still deciding on them. I feel like it kind of unifies it, but I think it makes the whole thing a little less. It wraps it out without being so overwhelming. So I'm pretty happy with the whole thing right now. Like, it worked. It looks really good. Um. Anyway, so that's kind of the update. Now I wanted to quickly show what I had been before. So this is what I was working with before, and I really liked it too. So this is my current UI for my Druid, and the Druid is really the only thing I'm playing right now. I do have another one, and I'll show you what I was using before. So this is, I threw it on my Hunter. It's not optimized for my Hunter right now, and this was a nice one too. I really like this one too, but it was kind of, I called it generic because it is generic. So let me show you here. So this is I call this a generic UI, and I liked it. So if you notice, this is my generic UI, and I like the look, no doubt, right? I mean, it's a real nice clean look, but it is just, I don't know, it's just generic. That's just all it is. Again, it's great. I like it, and I used it for a good week or so, maybe 2 weeks, but I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me. It's kind of hard to explain. I tend to like more of a unique aspect to my UIs, especially now that I'm not mythic rating anymore. I can kind of use UIs that might not be ideal for rating. Like this one, I feel is really good for rating. It gives me a ton of space. I can see my feet. Both pieces give me a lot of information. It's great for rating. Excellent for rating. Everything's nice and big. The other UI, like I said, it might not be as for rating. It might not be as good. Let's go back. So this one, the rating again, and I'll find out. I've rated with the UI that's similar, so it might not be as good for rating. It doesn't give us much information. And what I mean by that is, the other one kind of tells me all these different things, like, are you looking at a unique, it tells me the class, everything's a little bit bigger, everything's a little bit easier to read. This thing right here, this center thing takes up valuable real estate, right? I mean, can I see my feet? Sure, but I could see my feet a little bit better. So if I was mythic rating and pushing it, like pushing mythic rating, I'd probably use the other one. Maybe not. I think I probably would, though. It's probably a little bit better, more efficient. But like I said, I'm really happy with this one in terms of just, for heroic rating, which is, it's great, but it's not particularly, I wouldn't call it the most challenging thing in the world. It works well. Anyway, that's an update of where I am right now. I'm going to be making some changes to this. I'm still trying to think about what I want to add to it. Are there things that might be nice? So it's one of those things where I'm going to have to raid with it a little bit to mess around. Like this little bar right here, you can see that little green one right there. That's tracking effervescence. It's probably the part that I don't like the most, but I haven't decided how I want to track effervescence. It is important that I track it. Now, I am tracking it here too. You'll notice, so when effervescence gets down to, I think, 5 seconds, so it's got, let's, boom. When it gets down to 5 seconds, you'll notice the circle goes kind of pinkish. There it's going kind of pinkish. And of course, when I'm finished, you'll see this thing bloom, which is really nice. That's boom, it's blooming. That's really nice. So we'll see. I tend to like to have I do tend to like to have a timer on my effervescence. I tend to like to have a bar there. So that's why I have this here. But it may or may not be practical. We'll kind of, like I said, I'll have to play with it when I raid this Friday. Anyway, like I said, that's where I'm at this point. That's kind of an update with my UIs. Again, very happy with my current one, but we'll have to raid with it to see where I'm at.